Hey folks, it's Nate, and I have a little project going on in the garage today. It's my birthday. I turned 40 today. Man, I don't know. Some people say I should feel old, and I don't know. Anyway, so today I'm putting LED taillights in the back of the Jeep, and I'm also watching qualifying for the Everyman Challenge. I think, anyway. I just tuned in. I'm not really sure what's on the show yet, but it's KOH week, and I have to be live streaming something from KOH. So while I'm working, you're going to hear it in the background. You're just going to have to live with it. So I'm going to tell you a little story. Quite some time ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, I had my YJ at the time, and I decided that the YJ needed some LED taillights. So I bought a set of LED taillights, or somebody bought them for me. I can't even remember anymore. And they came as a set of 4, but I only needed 2. So, a couple months ago, I was going through cleaning up my shop, and I found this box. I wasn't sure what was in it, so I opened the box. Guess what was in it? 2 LED taillights. So I thought, hey, that'll be a cool future project for the LJ. The problem with these LED taillights is they don't have reverse lights, right? They have brake and turn signal, but no reverse lights. So, a couple weeks ago, a friend of mine on Facebook had posted some pictures of an upgrade he did to his own LED taillights, which did have reverse lights, but they weren't very bright. He picked up these guys from, I think they were High Beam Offroad, like 15 bucks. These things are called RockShots, and what they're meant for, I think, is rock lights. You put them underneath your vehicle. They're meant to be durable. They're meant to be tiny, easy to wire, 2 leads, and you're done. These are white. I'm going to put them in as reverse lights, along with my cool LED taillights. So, my goal here is today to remove the stock taillights, which means I'm going to have to do something with my antenna because I have it mounted behind the taillight here. But once I get that removed, I have to find a new mount or something for this. Maybe put it up here. I don't know. I'll figure that out. But once I get the taillight off, sorry, I have the camera all weird. Once I get the taillight off, I need to do a little bit of mock-up to see if I can mount these the way I want. So what I'm going to do is get these taillights off. I'm not going to show you how to do that. That's pretty easy. There's a couple bolts hold them on. I'm going to get them off, get them unplugged, and then I'm going to start figuring out how I'm going to mount these taillights. Just want to show you something here quick. I have the stock taillight on the passenger side off. So behind the stock taillight, and I've had this off before because this is where I had my CB antenna mount, as you can see. It's got this sealer behind it, which keeps water from getting into here, which you can tell it didn't do quite the job it was supposed to, but that's probably because I've had it apart before. But that's not what I wanted to show you. What I want to show you was all the crud that's gotten behind here, probably because of the space that I created by putting this mount behind the taillight. But that's a thing that will be nice to not have to worry about once I've switched this. There's also these 3 holes here, which I can't imagine I'm going to be able to completely cut out when I do the tail light, but we'll see. Maybe I'll put the tail light here and the reverse light up there, getting rid of this hole too. I don't know. We'll see once I get this cleaned up a bit. I'm going to clean this off and try to get this stripped off, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so turns out the hardest part of this job so far has been getting this stupid adhesive off of here. This black stuff is like tar, and it just will not come off. I've hit it with a heat gun. I've hit it with a paint scraper, which started to damage the paint a little bit, so I went to a plastic paint scraper, which isn't sturdy enough to really get it off of there. I hit it with some sandpaper right on the black, and that seemed to work pretty well. Now I'm attacking it with some Goo Gone, but man, some of this is going to get cut out when I put the new taillight in, but the stuff that's not getting cut out, of course, I want to clean off. So maybe I'm working too hard at this, and what I should do is cut for the new taillight, and then once that's cut, I should then have a better idea of what actually needs to be removed. So I want to show you something. That's the passenger side. On the driver's side, there's no gooey crap, so I'm happy for that. But I do have the license plate to deal with. So basically, when I put this taillight in, my hope is to eliminate this hole with however I cut for the taillight. and then put the reverse light somewhere sort of up here, right? So what I want to do now is figure out where I'm going to put the tail light based on this side, and then mimic it on that side. So that's the goal. By the way, this is not the qualifiers for Everyman Challenge. This is the qualifiers for the real thing on Friday. So I'm paying slightly closer attention. This might be a long video. Good work. Yeah. Alright folks, so all ideas of tilting this aside, I think this is where the tail light's going to go. It's got just enough clearance above the license plate so that it'll be sunk in there. It'll cover this hole, although it won't necessarily eat it up. And then I can put the reverse light kind of right here. I got to figure out how much clearance I have above here. Reverse light could go elsewhere if I really had to, but I think it'll be right up here. Yeah, if I put it directly above here, there's clearance behind, or I could put it there or there, you know. Could even put it next to it if I really wanted to. But I think up there is where it's going to go. So I think what I'm going to do next is cut off one of these pigtails and figure out the actual wiring. Alright, so wiring. One thing that we need to be aware of is what wires currently go where. So you can't see it that well, but this purple wire is the reverse light. That'll be important. You may notice, however, there's only one wire going up there. It's because this housing provides ground for the whole thing. Every circuit, every DC circuit, needs a positive and negative. This is positive for the reverse light. This is negative for the reverse light. The body is negative. The same goes for the the brake slash marker light. There's two wires coming into this little housing, and that means ground is provided by this plate here, which is then bolted to the body. My new light doesn't have a metal body, and it's got 3 wires. No reverse light. I'm almost certain, since this is DC and the color coding is usually pretty standard, that this is going to be ground. This is going to be on-off, like driving light, not driving light, marker light. And this is probably going to be brake light. We'll test all that in a little bit. Then I'm going to have to ground this and the negative on my reverse light, which is tiny, as you can tell, together. Okay? What I intend to do is cut this sheath off of here and cut these wires as close to the body of this as I can. I don't anticipate wanting to sell these later, although maybe I will. So I could leave a little bit of a pigtail here so that if I do sell them, I'll just tell whoever buys them, you're going to have to retain your factory harness and reattach. So I'll leave an inch or two there so they can do that. This will give me plenty to wire up to this and this. The downside is I'm going to have a plug here, which makes me think, oh yeah, cool, this will all be removable. This can't be removable because it's going to be mounted into the body, like directly, where this is just going to be screwed in. So what I'm going to do is strip this back some, cut this off, and we're going to plug this into the Jeep, and I'm going to fiddle with the lights with a meter and try to figure out which wire is truly which. Because what I don't know is which of these two is driving light, marker light, and which one is brake light. Okay, so right now I have the marker lights on the Jeep turned on. So what we should see is one of these two should be hot and one of them should not. This one should be the reverse light. We already know that because it was inside the housing. So if I had turned on reverse and touched this to ground, my meter should show something. My meter's off though. So if I touch this which is reverse to ground, I should get nothing, and I get nothing. If I go from one of these two to ground, I should get 12 volts, roughly. So let's go from this one to ground. 12 volts. This one should give me nothing, because I don't have the turn signal on. Nothing. Alright folks, so you can tell from this epileptic seizure-inducing flash that I finally have the wiring figured out. It's confusing because the system on the Jeep seems to act funny when you have things disconnected. So I had to plug the other light in. It's hanging under the Jeep right now because I had them both disconnected. And then I had to actually look up a wiring diagram for this thing online, which was harder to find than you'd think. It's apparently an industry standard, but I didn't know. So white is ground. Who makes white ground? I don't know, but white is ground. Black on this guy is for the driving light, and red on this guy is for the signal. So that would probably hold true for other lights. So black is marker, red is signal, white is ground, if it is truly a standard. On the Jeep, this black with a yellow stripe is signal. No, is marker light. Black with a yellow stripe is marker light. And this like brown with a red stripe is turn signal light. And this, of course, is reverse. So, what I'm going to do now is get this actually soldered to the light. Well, maybe not. I think what I'm going to do next is mark these so that I don't forget in the future. And then I'm going to get this all removed, and then I'm going to figure out how to get the lights mounted. Once I figure out how to get them mounted, then I'm going to get these connectors soldered up, plug everything in, hope for the best. The other thing I'm going to have to deal with is this crazy flashing. I may have to go buy a different flasher module, or I read online that you can modify the one we have, so we're going to try that and see what happens. So, I'm going to go stop this. Now I do want to remember where all these little holes were. I'm going to mark them with my marker. The idea for that is simply so I know that when I'm cutting, if I want to take out these holes, which I kind of do, I'll know where they're at. Now I've already measured these. These are 2.5 inches this way. So this is a 2.5 inch radius bend here. This should also be 2.5 inches then, right? But I'll check to be, yeah, it's 2.5 inches. The width is the thing I don't know yet. I'm going to measure those so I know how wide to make the hole. And then we're going to mark to cut. Crazy. Okay. It's just a hair over 6.5. If we made it 6 3/4, it would probably work perfect. Two and a half. Yeah, we're going to go 2.5 by 6 3/4. Okay, so what matters on this side? So this is the side that has more clearance issues. So what I want to do is get this side as close to perfect as possible, and then I'm going to mimic it on the other side. So what I did is I took the light housing and I put it on the top of the license plate, and then I traced the upper line of the outside of the housing. Then I put it flush against the body and I traced the outside of it. So I end up with this. Now what I'm going to do is figure out the depth of this the depths of this lip, and then I'm going to measure in from there and down from the top, and that should give me where I need to cut. Okay, so we're looking at about 1/2 inch in from this outer edge. So we're going to just measure in a 1/2 inch and make some dotted lines. Okay, so now I'm going to trace this upper line with the straight edge of my speed square. Not terrible. So this guy is actually a drafting tool. I keep it in my workbench here. Basically, I measured out a 1/2 inch, and now I'm using this as sort of a guide. Okay, so what I have to do now is figure out from this upper line of what should be the body of the light, the inner body of the light, to the centers, so I know where to tap and drill the circles for the outer ends of this this light. So what I'm going to do is get half of 2 1/2, which is what? 1 1/4. I had 1 3/4 on accident. 1 1/4. And then I'm going to try to figure out where the center needs to be. 1 1/4. I'm going to make a line across here that should give us the center of where the body would be. Right? And then we need to come in from this end. Same deal. So right there should be where we drill our 2 1/2 inch hole. It's right next to this other thing, which is going to be a problem, I think, but see what we can do. Looks like I need a better drill. There's one hole.
Wait, you made one hole?
Yeah, have a look. What do you think?
Wait, you're making 2 holes?
Uh-huh.
Look on the inside of there.
Got a hole in my Jeep. All right, Harper, come here. What do you think?
Ooh.
Pretty cool, huh?
Now the next thing is you need to do is screw it.
The camera's on. Want to say hi?
Hi.
So with Harper's help here, I have the first hole cut. Next thing to do is to figure out where the reverse light's going to go and drill for that. So there's my light. I think the reverse light just goes right above it. What do you think?
I think it's supposed to go like.
Let's see how high up we can go here. Because there's the inner fender.
So I think Daddy needs to put it right here.
That's about as high as we can go. I'm just going to put it right above it, I think.
And
It'll just go right there in the middle. This is 6.5 inches wide. So the middle of it. What do you think? We just put it as high up as we can there?
yeah.
Punch. Where's my hammer that you had? Right there. Okay. We're going to put it right here. I need to sharpen my punch. Not making a very good hole. So with a stepper bit, the further the hole, the further into the hole you drill, the bigger it gets.
Do I have to plug my ears?
Well, if you want to keep those on, you can. I have to plug in this drill. So let's see how I do with stepper bits. I need to go 1, 2,
Should I not back up?
3. You can back up if you want to. See if I can do this. One, 2, 3. That should be a 3/8 inch hole. What do you think? Is it a 3/8 inch hole? Okay, so I have the light wired up for the signal and brake light, and I've tested it, and it works. Now I've got to wire up the reverse, the reverse light, which is this tiny gauge wire. So I'm gonna have to get creative, and then all of it needs to get grounded. Somewhere in this mess, I have a spool of wire that I brought over for ground. I'll find it then. Basically what I'm going to do is patch the negative with this white wire to a single wire. That wire will go to ground. Probably the frame, I don't know, body maybe, I don't know. I'll figure that out. There seems to be a ground under here already from my trailer harness. I may just patch into that. On the other side, which I haven't cut yet, I may need to get a little more creative. Bottom line is, we're close to done. Once all this works, basically going to have to pull all this back off and treat these cut edges. I've filed them a little bit to smooth them, but I should put some kind of paint or something on them. And then I'll button this up and call it done on this side. I also need to drill holes to mount the oval light with. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm basically going to solder these connections and then slide heat shrink over them so they stay protected from the elements, and then hope for the best. Okay, so one side is reassembled and it's all wired, so you get to have a watch while I try it. Ignition's on. There should be brakes. Should be brakes and signal. Should be just signal. And should be reverse. Did they all work? I couldn't see. Now, all I have to do is get that whole side done. It's only been like 3 hours at this point. But I have all the hard stuff figured out. The wiring, whatever. All I really have to do is cut, well, measure, cut, get the holes just right, solder everything up for the harnesses and whatnot, and put it in. So, almost there. Okay, behind me you should see the lights finally installed. And my assistant who's going to help demonstrate the brake lights. So,
AKA, I'm his daughter.
you want to go hop in and push the brake pedal like I showed you?
Are they on?
Yep, they're on. So that's just the brakes. I don't know if she knows how to actually try the turn signals or anything.
No, I do not.
So the one thing I didn't do is modify the flasher, so that's going to be another day because I'm out of time. But let me set the camera up on a tripod quick, and then you can see the reverse lights and stuff. I got to help her with that. So, just a sec. There we go. Okay, Jeep is on now. Brake lights are on. Now, we're going to turn on the... Those are the driving lights. Okay, let off the brake, Kira. Okay, push it again. Okay, now we're going to show you the reverse lights. Hold on the brake. Can't reach.
Are they working?
Only one. Oh, there we go. Were you holding the brake the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. So there's the reverse lights.
Yeah, I let go.
So there we have it. Tail lights. LED tail lights with high beam off-road, I think they were, RockShots for reverse lights. It was a bit of a project. It took me several hours, but what are you doing now? Don't get that stuck on there.
Pretending.
Anyway, that's it. The wiring was a little different on the driver's side than it was on the passenger, only because the colors were a little different. Because the wiring loom obviously has a different color signal light for the left versus right turn signal. So those were different colors. But otherwise the coloring was the same. That purple wire was the reverse light. The... what was it, red and green? No, it was black and yellow. Black and yellow was the driving light, and then the only other color was...
Red.
No, the only other color was for the stop and turn signal light. On the LED tail lights, white was ground, which was crazy. I think red was stop and turn signal, and black was the driving light. So that is that. Wiring up the RockShots wasn't difficult, except that the wires were a lot smaller on those than they were on the...
you got angry about one of the wires.
Yeah, I got angry at this. Finding a ground on the passenger side was a pain in the butt. So I ended up having to... All right, Kira, gotta be quiet. So I wound up having to drill a hole and put a ground in over there. So that was kind of a pain.
Yeah, he got mad.
Yeah, that's why Kira came down. She heard me arguing with the Jeep through the floor.
Yes,
so.
I was like, Dad.
So at any rate, there we go. These are Peterson trailer LED lights. Nothing crazy fancy. I got them years ago. I don't even remember what they cost. Like 40 bucks maybe for a set of 4. I don't even remember.
Look.
I see. That's very cool.
Twinkle, twinkle,
Check it
twinkle,
out. She's
twinkle.
decorating. And like I said,
It's a Christmas tree.
Kira. Like I said, high beam off-road RockShots for the reverse lights. So we're going to run them for a little while, see how they work out, see if I can figure out what to do about that flasher relay, and that's it. Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, go ahead and subscribe, and yeah, I'll catch you on the next
Merry
one.
Christmas.
It's not Christmas.
It's Christmas.
Anyway, thanks folks. Hey you stuck around to the end of the video. You're awesome. You should probably hit the subscribe link up over here, and make sure you hit the notification bell, otherwise YouTube's not going to actually tell you when I produce something new. You can also support me via Patreon by clicking the link up over here. And if you like this video, you should probably check out the recommended content that's coming up down over here. If you want merch like I'm wearing right here, you should go to SWBCrawler.com and check out my shirts and hats and whatever else I've got for sale. Thanks for watching.